Hello and good afternoon from the Bob and Barry Live Preview Show for Monday, March 28th, 2022. Man, I got to tell you what a wonderful weekend we had this weekend. I'm Bob McMasters and say hello to my brother and good friend. Let's see this away, Mr. Barry Cummins.
Hey, Bob. Hey, everyone out there watching us. Glad to have y'all with us today from sunny Northwest Alabama. 61 degrees here today. Just an absolutely beautiful day. And hey, it did look like y'all had a great time in your class weekend. It was a blast zooming in with both the Texas folks and the Ohio folks.
Well, let's address the weather first, as we always do here on this show. Yesterday, it was 91 here in North Texas. The day before, in the upper 80s. Luckily, we were inside of a air-conditioned classroom. Had a great turnout at both classes. Fantastic people. Couldn't have asked for better folks. Lots of content sharing. We, just overwhelmed by it all. Even the students, when they come in, there is so much to hear and learn in the 4 textbooks and from, the different instructors. Chrissy and I had a fantastic time. Everyone was so great. And hey, guys, even we still learn from the folks that come to our schools. I got to say, this was one of our more Q&A sessions that we've ever had. And I got to tell you that one of the highlights of the weekend was Barry's sleigh and reindeer flight presentation. If you've not seen it, you need to get out to one of our classes and check this out, because this gentleman knows what he's talking about when it comes to being in the air and flying. And I gotta say, everyone was blown away by his presentation. Great job, Barry.
Appreciate the kind words and that everyone and the feedback they've given me on that. It means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Hey, Bob, last time it was 91 degrees here, I put on my red trunks, went outside, got to hearing somebody hollering, David, David, David. And I'm thinking, what in the world are they talking about? They come running up to me and they looked at me real close and said, oh my gosh, you look just like David Hasselhoff from Baywatch, except your face and body's different. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, I hear you. So Bruce says it's hot here today at 39. Well, Bruce, we envy you here in North Texas when it's in the upper 90s now. I don't know how much you guys get to see outside of the North Texas area, but we have had a very high fire danger for weeks here. We're in a drought right now, and we have fires all around the Metroplex, and it has been so smoky and hazy here. And of course, that messes with your throat and your sinuses and can give you a headache. And it's been terrible here. Hey, Ben, good to see you, brother. I gotta throw kudos to Ben Bellhorn. Also, he was the boots on the ground for the Ohio Sat Bob's class. He worked very close with Gordon Bailey, Michael Howell, Roger Minton, and of course our great friend Randall Checker Lee to help put that class on. You guys went up and above. Fantastic job. And we were so excited to be able to do a very first in the Santa community teaching world simulcast from one group to the other. And then you throw in on top of that, Barry, remote location in Alabama, zoomed into both classes. So we had a great sharing of both classes. It was almost like we were all right there together. Fantastic questions from both groups. I got to tell you, I was so stoked last night when I got home. I hit the chair, fell asleep for a few minutes, got up, got my second wind, put my computer, my microphones, my speaker, and everything back together. Finished up with that about 12:15. Thought I'd grab some sleep, get in bed early. Gosh, I couldn't sleep. I just sat there, thinking about the whole weekend and how great it was. Hey, JD.
Glad to see y'all. A lot of people don't realize, what work you put into one of these Santa classes when you put it on the long hours. Instructors typically probably only get 3 to 4 hours, maybe a night, when you're doing those sessions. There's just so much stuff to do.
I slept 2 hours Friday night, just up late trying to make sure I had everything done. Got up bright and early, 5 a.m. To get started for a 9 o'clock class. Got over to the hotel a couple of hours early, got to setting everything up. And we were ready at 8:55, 5 minutes to spare. And of course, you get that stress level goes up on you and you start, worrying because you've told everyone to be there on time. And last thing you want to do is hold anybody up for anything. And with all that said, Randy, I appreciate the PM that you sent me last night. And hey, your presentation was over the top. Also, I'm sorry you cut it a little bit short. We're going to have to do it again and get you back on the show again. We want to get with you and get you set up to come on to the Tuesday Night Live show so we can share some more of what you were talking about yesterday or Saturday in the classroom. And, when you got two different time zones and you got two different groups of people, things happen. And for us on Saturday, I couldn't get my microphone and my laptop to work. I tried and tried and tried. We had other people helping. For some reason, it just was not recognizing. We shut down, pulled back up. So we didn't have anything. So we improvised. I called Barry on the telephone. Barry put his phone on speaker and he held it up to his camera, and the Ohio class was able to hear somewhat what we were saying. I took my external microphone that I use, this one right here. I don't know if you can see this on my boom stand. I took all this apart and carried it to the class with me yesterday and got it set up that way. We had our audio so Chrissy could do her Mrs. Claus and costuming presentation for the Ohio class. Sometimes you just work through things. So, when you try to get away from lunch, you're in the middle of lecture, you're trying to watch your clock, and time is just time. It gets away from you. So everything went pretty smooth. We still was able to do all the things that we wanted to accomplish. And I just want to praise the Lord for everyone's safe return home and the fantastic class we ended up having both ways.
Amen.
Yeah, feel free. Santa Barry can always be a mistake for Fabio. I'm not sure who that is. Do you know who wrote that?
I'm not sure who wrote that, but
we're getting a Facebook user, but that's a fantastic comment.
Fabio was the guy that was on all those romance novels that all the women bought.
Got his hair, yeah. Exactly. Randy, it was a first, and all was on incredible. It was all in all, it was an incredible weekend. Hey, and excuse me for my speech today. I am tired. I will admit it. It does take a lot out of you to go through the week leading up to, the weeks leading up to the last week, and then the last week getting into the class. And it'll take me a couple of days to get it all, deprogrammed and go through everything that I've got to do to follow up on the class.
Yeah, it's been a tough week for our show and for all of our friends. Many of you in the community know that Spangle the Clown's wife, Daisy Mae, passed away in a tragic car accident last week and everything. That's been heavy on our hearts, and just continue to lift him up and Daisy Mae's family in your prayers. And April 5th, we had a guest scheduled, and out of honor for Daisy Mae, we're going to not host the show because during that time, her memorial or visitation is going to be at 6 p.m. and her memorial service at 7 p.m. in Springfield, Missouri. For all of you that wants to go and pay your respects, it's located at 500 East Walnut in Springfield, Missouri. And visitations at 6 p.m., the memorial service at 7 p.m. And I know Spangle will appreciate that. And just continue to lift that family up in your prayers.
That's April 5th. And thank everyone who has sent all the fantastic comments to Spangle, either in a PM or mailing out cards to their P.O. box. He was here in Texas with us, scheduled to do the school this weekend, a balloon class, and as a vendor. And my wife, my daughter, and I went and picked him up. We went and had lunch, and on the way to do some other things before going to dinner, he got the phone call. And I got to tell you, man, it was so shocking. I still have a hard time talking about it, but thank you everyone, for being Spangle's friend. Spangle is such a vital part of our community, and everyone has reached out to him. Thank you so much. Now, with all that said, that is April 5th, by the way. We are going to dedicate that night, because it is a Tuesday night and the memorial service starts at 7 p.m., our normal start time. That week will be dedicated to Daisy Mae, the memory of Daisy Mae, as well as this next week's show tomorrow night. We want to dedicate that also. But thanks, everyone. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's do our trivia question for Mr. Tom Cortmagilia and get that That is santascloset.org. Go ahead, Barry.
All right. If she'll put that up, we'll get her started. Thank you, Tom Cornmelia, for your sponsorship, and the winner will receive one of these nice Santa keys.
And we might say that Tom has a whole host of stuff along with that key. It's not just that key, but that's the main piece to the package.
That's right. Well, here's a question. Which country did eggnog come from? Which country did eggnog come from? And that's something I've never, ever tried.
Never had eggnog?
Never had it.
It's, it's not for everyone, as most things in life are. I like it, but I don't drink it often. But when I do, I enjoy it. It's one of those drinks that I think a lot of children probably don't care for, but as you become an adult, you get an acquired taste for it after you've had it a time or two. As a child, my mother always made liver and onions. I'm not a liver and onions guy, so once I become an adult, I don't eat it. So,
yeah, if I fished with something before, if a catfish gonna eat it, I'm not gonna eat it.
Catfish bottom feeder.
Which country did eggnog come from? Still looking for a correct answer. And the winner will be posted on the Sat Bob's Live after show the day after. We'll post that in our group, the winners of each of those trivia questions.
Yeah, that's true. And, for the Bob and Barry show, we don't have as many live viewers because of our time slot. So it's a little bit easier to decipher through that. Last week, I got it up within an hour of the closing of the show. So
it is not France.
Jackie says, put it in your coffee. It's amazing. I haven't tried it in coffee, Jackie. That's a great idea. I'm going to have to do that. See, and Ben's right off. He liked it as a kid, but he don't like it anymore. So
it's not Norway. It's not Germany. Not France.
Not France. This one kind of surprised me too, because, my answer to Barry was when he asked me if I knew what the answer was, I said Germany. I don't know why we associate it with Germany, but that's just what I thought when he asked me the question. By the way, the trivia question was researched by Barry today.
Should I give him a hint?
You can.
Maybe when some of the people left this country to come to the United States, they may have brought that with them. Tradition.
Yeah. That's true, and I mean, if you want to throw one more out there, it's been a hard day's night.
It's not Austria.
Again, such a simple question, but so many choices to ponder. There you go. This is just tentatively. Tanya Hayes would be the winner if we check the timestamp and nobody else has Britain as the answer. England, Britain, it's all the same thing. United Kingdom was close, but we can't accept that because the UK is a series. That would be like asking what state did something in America was, and you put up, say, Alabama, but or you put up United States and we're looking for the specific answer of Alabama or something. So as of right now, looks like Tanya may be the winner, but go over to the group this afternoon or early in the morning just to make sure, and we'll notify you in a PM if you was the winner.
Hey, tomorrow night, special guest for the Tuesday night live show, we got Miss Sherry Heath. She's the owner of So Santa. She's also Mrs. Claus and also does background work with the Santa Gathering over in Gatlinburg for 2023. looking forward to that convention too, and interested to see what she has to say about that.
Yes, absolutely. That event just grows and grows and grows. I think there's two real positive factors to three, I would say. The organizers, of course, that's obvious, but the location, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, is the perfect setting for Santa-related. You got the Christmas stores there, you got the themed hotel there. Just the setting in the mountains, the Smoky Mountains in the background, and a fantastic setting. And then, of course, the parade. I think the parade has something unique about it, and that town is not closed off just to Santas during the gathering. And so when you talk about the parade, you're talking about people lined up deep on the side of the road, on the side of the sidewalks and stuff. It is a big event, and no better place for Santas and Mrs. Clauses and the elves to get dressed up and trooper down the road and wave and enjoy the crowd, and the crowd enjoy the parade of Santas and Mrs. Clauses and elves.
And I mentioned this before. Thankfully, the parade route is all downhill. You don't have to walk uphill, so that helps a whole lot.
Very, very, very true. Very true. All right, so I'm going to throw something in here real quick. It's just my 2 cents worth. It's really 2 cents worth. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying a few weeks ago about some of the stuff that you see and hear around the world. We're in tough times right now in not just America, but in the world, with all the daily things that are going on, the war over in Ukraine, and it's got people thinking about love and respect. In life, we are taught to love and respect our fellow man. For me, you either love me or you don't. I'm rough around the edges, and I know it. Even if I find someone not as favorable to my point of view or my political view, which we don't talk about as Santas and Mrs. Clauses, I still respect them. I respect them for what our country has, and that is freedom of speech. And, we need to hang on to that freedom of speech, because that's one of the things that is always in jeopardy in other countries. As you have seen over in Russia, those folks over there don't have a whole lot of freedom of speech. And so freedom of speech is very important. As humans, we're also, taught, if you don't have nothing nice to say, well, keep your comments to yourself. And, sometimes I've seen recently where guys kind of get brushed up over each other, and there's never any ill intent meant. It's just everybody has a different point of view, right? So I always say, and this is the important part, and this is what my whole 2 cents is worth, build your fellow man up. Don't tear him down. And I find that in the Santa community, I highly respect the folks of MAPS, Michigan Association of Professional Santas. And after working with them through the Zoom calls this weekend in Ohio, because a lot of the folks that were there in Ohio traveled down from Michigan. So it was a good blend of Ohioans and Michigans there at that group, and in the Texas group. Man, it was such a fantastic week. I know I keep harping on it, but I just want to thank everyone one more time on both ends of the Zooms and in both classes, and to you too, Barry.
Absolutely. And I got a comment too. We both may be nuts, but we're screwed on to the correct bolt.
That's a great way of saying it. And we also want to say thank you to Mr. Gordon Bailey for his end of his class presentation that he done, and all the folks that sat in and helped out on that. We mentioned earlier, Michael and Randall and Roger and Ellen Tempering. She has some great questions, a lot of good comments there. Also on our end, we want to thank Chrissy Kovic and her husband, Scott Martin, for setting up the costume magic, and they had a good weekend. They were very pleased with the way things went. And thanks to Doug Wright, who came in and did a 1 hour, turned into about an hour and a half presentation on making home visits magical special, which was a fantastic presentation. And just everyone who contributed. Okay, so enough on that. Let's move on to something else. What else you want to talk about, Barry?
Let's see. I'll tell some upcoming guests. We've got tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time, Miss Sherry Heath We were going to have Santa D. Sinclair on the 5th, but out of honor for Miss Daisy, we're going to reschedule Santa D to another time and just leave that show blank in her memory. On April 12th, we have Cam Brittenbach coming up. She's a Mrs. Claus. April 19th, I'm not sure what we're going to do for that show. Maybe we can get Santa D moved to that slot time. But then we have Kat Eisenhausen coming up on April 26th with her ASL. So that'll be a great learning opportunity. Then May 3rd, we're going to have Ruby and Becky with Cherry Hill programs on there, telling us a little bit about what's going on this year with Cherry Hill. So
yeah, and they've got some stuff. They've done some restructuring. They know, like all of us, that you learn as you go, and everybody has growing pains. Sometimes you have people in certain places that are good, but for some reason you shift things around, change things up a little bit, and try to move on to that next level. And that's some of the things that we've seen with Cherry Hill this year. It's all good. I got to tell you, I've talked to the ladies in depth. Me and Gordon Bailey have had several meetings with them, and we are really excited to get them back on the show. They got some great programs, incentive programs this year that we're looking forward to have them tell you about. I won't go into any depth because I want to let the cat out of the bag. But
Ben, I'm going to tell you, we got Roger scheduled for May 24th.
That's correct. Roger is already scheduled. We've had him scheduled ever since we had Michael on, or before that, I think, actually, because Michael and Roger are so linked together there in MAPS and what they do week to week, day to day, basically, for that association up there.
Yeah, if you go to Sat Bob's Live, you can look over there, up there on those pinned posts. Bob has a post pinned with all their upcoming guests. So kind of stay ahead of it a little bit. You can see who they are coming up. And yeah. Bob and I are going to interview you ourselves on one of the programs.
Yeah, actually, the date that we have open in a couple of weeks, it was going to be my week, and we had first penciled that in. I think I even put it up on the schedule for a couple of hours, and then some things came up, and I kind of need to push myself back deeper into the scheduling. So that's why we have that open date. We actually had it filled up with me. I'm going to be interviewing Barry here soon, and I've been so consumed by this this last weekend with the class and getting it set up and doing all the things you got to do, the man hours behind doing these things, working with the hotel, working with different guests, trying to get your students lined up and getting, their tuitions paid and spreadsheets, and oh my gosh, it'll make your head, spin. But now that I've gotten through that, the number one thing I got to do this week is take care of my taxes. It's tax time, folks. If you haven't got your taxes done or got them over to your CPA, please do so. I highly recommend. This is a subject that we covered in depth this weekend because we had a lot of new guys, couples that was at our class. A CPA is a must in this industry, especially if you have more than one income. We had 3 folks that were retired military that still get a pension, plus their Santa business, plus some other stuff they had going on. And those were some of the most in-depth questions we had this weekend. And of course, our recommendation is find a good CPA. Now, a CPA is a certified public accountant. I think we all know that. But, some of these CPAs have worked for the IRS in recent years. I know the last 2 CPAs I've had both fill that description. And tax laws change every year. So it's not just something because they worked in the IRS or that they're up what they think they're up on tax laws. They have to study that stuff hard, and every year it changes, and they have to be on top of their game. So find you a good CPA. If you know one and you got a brother or sister looking for one or have questions about them, pass that information along to them if you've used them and you highly recommend them.
Hey, I want to tell you about, too, the next learning opportunity with Sat Bob's, the Santa in the Business of Being Santa, will be May the 14th and 15th in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. The hotel is the Holiday Inn Express there. Contact Courtney. She'll set you up with a room. We do have some blocked off at a special rate for that. And like I say, May 14th and 15th.
Yes, and that's a great rate. And she is so pleasurable to work with. A lot of times you start trying to work your way through a list of hotels to find just the right one. It's got to suit our needs, and they've got to be able to be a little bit flexible to work with us because, hey, we're not easy. And Courtney is more than pleasurable to work with. She is so sweet and kind and went out of her way to help get us set up and get us locked in. And the contract has been signed and it is in. We've already got a number of folks that have came to the 3 previous Nashville classes. We had one 2016 that Gordon Bailey taught. 2018, Gordon and I went back, and that was one of my first classes that he pretty much just kind of let me have full reins of, from beginning stages of planning and all the way through. And it was the first one he and I had actually done together. That was a fantastic class and our first. And then, of course, we all went back in 2020, Barry, Chrissy, myself, and Gordon. We had 29 in class. That was in the height of COVID. And luckily, the Lord looked over us that weekend, and we were in a small room, packed in like sardines, and we all walked away, and none of us got sick. That was a true blessing. And, I always say, as Santa and Mrs. Claus, we kind of, in a roundabout way, we're doing the Lord's work. And then if you have the opportunity, as I had yesterday afternoon when leaving the hotel, real quick, I don't want to get into this too deep, but there was 3 small children. They were probably around the ages of 5 and 6, all 3 of them, standing at the hotel. We had already loaded up all of our stuff, and Mrs. Claus was sitting out in our minivan waiting for me to come out, for the final time and get in and head home. But the whole front of the hotel is lobby and breakfast room, and it's just solid plate glass windows. And I could see them in there jumping up and down and waving. And so there were several of us standing there as they were parting to go to their car, and we all waved. And then I went to get in the minivan, and they're still in there waving. 5 minutes later, they're still jumping up and down and waving. So I told Mrs. Claus, I said, hold on just a moment. I said, I've got to go back in here and see these children. They are so excited to see Santa. They met me at the first sliding doors. They're jumping up and down. They all grabbed my legs and start hugging me. And one of them looked up at me and she says, hi, are you Santa Claus? And I said, well, you know what, dear, I might be. Well, I don't know how many of you know about the cross penny. I think it's something that has blossomed throughout the Santa community. But I reached down in my pocket and pulled out a regular penny. Of course, I had already set the cross penny up in my hand. And I told them I just had 1 penny, and there was 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, but if they could help me, I might be able to get that magic penny. And I showed the penny to them, let them look at it real good, and do a little magic. So anyway, it's a sleight of hand trick that you do. You take the 1 regular penny. You go through a little process. You have one of the children, because it was 2 girls and a boy. I asked the little boy to put his hand out, and I dropped the 3 pennies in his hand and told him, I said, now look at these pennies really close, or look at this penny really close, because it doesn't look like it used to. And as they looked down at the penny, of course, I disposed of the other penny. And oh my gosh, you would not believe these children. They were jumping. I thought they were jumping up and down in the beginning, but they went ballistic, and the parents were just sitting there all smiles. And we had the front desk clerk was watching and had several guests that were either checking in and checking out at that time. They were amazed. It was a really cool moment. But of course, the cross penny leads into the conversation of baby Jesus and Christ. So anyway, so much for all that. I had fun. They enjoyed it, and I felt like that was the icing on the cake for the weekend.
That's great. Well, folks, tune in tomorrow night to the Tuesday night live show, 7 p.m. Central Time. Remember, you can only watch it live in the Sat Bob's Live Facebook group. It will be posted later into our sister group, the Santa and the Business of Being Santa. But to watch it live, you'll need to be at the Sat Bob's Live Facebook group, 7 p.m. Central Time.
That's correct. Looking to another fantastic show. I got to tell you real quick, Jeff McMillan, gosh, what an inspiration to us all. Such a talented man, been through so much in life, accomplished so many things, and so humble. Love him, love him, love him. All right, guys, so we've run our 30 minutes up. We're going into our 32 minutes, and we won't keep you any longer. We've said everything we needed to say. We just want to thank you all for joining in today, joining in on Tuesday Night Live. I had one of our new Mrs. Claus's walk up yesterday afternoon in the last break, and some of you may have seen the little live I done. It was a real quick. I didn't have just a moment to do it, and I rushed through it and got it done. But she walks up as I ended that, and she says, I just got to tell you, I love the Bob and Barry show. I said, well, what about Tuesday Night Live? She said, well, I like it too, but I love the Bob and Barry show. So anyway, thank you, folks. Thank you so much. We love you all. God bless to all. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time for the Tuesday Night Live show. And next week, right here, back at 3 p.m., the Bob and Barry live preview show on Mondays. Thanks for joining us.
Remember, we do this because we care. God bless you, and see you tomorrow night.
God bless. Thank you, folks.